Hello. I'm going to try this in the dark and see what happens because ironically there's a total lunar eclipse right now to go along with the Terra lunar eclipse. Destructive art imitating life, just imitating destructive art or something like that. Anyway, since the dip in Bitcoin down to around $25,000, it's been it went up to about 31,300 early-ish today, and now we're back hovering just a little above 30,000. I think, like I said, I think this was the bottom. I think we're in a midterm bottom right now, and now it's time to begin the next bull run. So there's going to be up and downs along the way. That's just how I feel. I kind of threw away all the lines that I drew on this chart because they don't matter anymore. Capitulation done, in my opinion. Time to move on. Speaking of moving on, there's not a whole lot of people that haven't gotten hurt from what I'm finding out from this situation, because even if you just held UST, like, you obviously lost a lot of money because it's been depegged from its $1 value, but then also holding Luna has gone. I saw someone tweeted that, like, if you held $1 million in Luna, like 20 minutes later you had like $17 of value in Luna. Like it dropped so fast, so hard, so quickly that like no one probably was able to escape with any of their money. But then it's been bouncing around between like 10 to 600% or something like that. So people have been trading it like a penny stock. So just stay away. It's been rug pulled and it's time to stay away. But a lot of people are asking some very interesting questions around how this whole thing happened. There's some people asking about Janet Yellen and I believe what's the hedge fund? Some of the hedge fund that was involved with the Robinhood Citadel, I believe it was. Maybe it's Citadel. I think they might be the ones that are could potentially, allegedly, might be involved in the taking down of UST and Luna because of how quickly Janet Yellen at the SEC hearing that same day or the following day or something like that was able to use the UST Luna meltdown as an example of stablecoins not being as stable as they could be and wanting more regulation. So regulation coming in a second, but a lot of the Bitcoin that the Terra Luna Foundation Guard had went to Gemini and Binance. So it's unsure. This article is unsure if they sold or if they're held in uncustodial wallets or where or what exactly has happened to that Bitcoin. But I believe Do Kwon still has not, made any sort of news as to what exactly has happened. He says that he was going to release some information, but that is yet to happen. So anyone who's been hurt by this, my feelings go out to you, and I hope that you're able to recoup something and start over and just stick with Bitcoin in the future. But more on regulation. In light of what has happened with Terra Luna and UST, the SEC's Hester Pierce says new stablecoin regulations need to allow room for failure. And that is like the gist of all these articles. Like the headline usually gives you like what they're talking about. I do read through these, and that's essentially what the article talks about. Is that, if stablecoins are going to be developed privately, not by a government central authority, then they need to allow it to fail. They have to fail. That's how good stablecoins will come about, and that's how bad stablecoins will go away. And I agree with her. That's a free market. It's going to hurt some people, and people are going to learn, and they're going to look at algorithmic stablecoins as trash, and until somebody has one that cannot be arbitraged against, then, people are probably going to stay away, as they should. And then also, in terms of regulation and irony, Gary Gensler at the SEC is taking, I don't know why I found this on the UK Yahoo website. I could not find this anywhere else on any sort of US Yahoo website or any other US website news outlet. But anyway, Gary Gensler takes aim at crypto exchanges for trading against their customers because the exchanges act as market makers and have to create a market, and a lot of times that requires, it could be shorting, it could be naked shorting, it could be a lot of, different ways to make a market. You have to be able to get the price to move up and down with buyers and sellers. Exchanges are acting as market makers for their customers, but also against their customers in some cases. And so, interesting that he would try to do that to somewhat protect, U.S. consumers or customers or investors in these exchanges. But he won't allow, a spot ETF of, converting, the grayscale GBTC into an ETF. He seems to be very hesitant to do that instead of, allowing futures ETF and, little things like this to take place. It's just, he doesn't have his priorities in the right direction. But anyway, despite all that FUD, Nayib Bukele, who is the president of El Salvador, has announced, I don't know how long, this must have been in the works for a long time, but I didn't know about this until just now, that 44 countries consisting of 32 central banks and 12 financial authorities will meet in El Salvador to discuss inclusion, digital economy, banking, the unbanked, the Bitcoin rollout and its benefits in our country, and probably in their countries as well, and his as only an example. So here's actually the list of the countries that will be there or represented. It's quite a beefy list. I don't think this is the whole thing, actually, now that I'm looking at it. But, there's some very bullish things that are going on in the Bitcoin space. And if you aren't paying attention, then you're going to get left behind. Speaking of which, veteran investor Bill Miller says that he remains bullish on Bitcoin and confirms that he has a lot of it. He also says that they ask him if he's selling any Bitcoin, and he says the short answer is no. So he must maintain an overall long position where the amount that he has is not dropped down below a certain threshold, because he does go in this and says that at times he has have made margin calls, and you have to sell stuff to meet margin calls. He says right there, I've sold stuff to meet margin calls because it's very liquid, but didn't mention Bitcoin specifically. So, but more billionaires and very rich people keep telling everyone that they have and own and are buying more Bitcoin and are bullish for the long term. So there's no reason why you shouldn't be either. And on top of that, to end the note on former Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey, I don't watch the price. So he tweeted this out a couple days ago, so I missed it. But he doesn't seem to care. Neither the Winklevoss twins, and neither should you. I'm going to watch that later. But I watch the price relentlessly. Not that I think it's going to go. I just love those moments when you catch it and it's moving dramatically in one direction or the other. Like, that's like a rush for me. So I just watch the price all the time just to see if I'll catch one of those moments where it really like spikes up or spikes down. Like this, I was live for this. I was live for this too. Those were some interesting days to watch. I was wondering if it was going to go below 25,000, and it didn't. And so I guess in my head that was, if it was pushed down so hard so fast and it didn't break 25, I think that, that's where the bottom is. So I hope y'all subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.